Ladies and gentlemen, in a surprising turn of event, ex-Minister Iswaran has pleaded guilty, and this has set the stage for him being incarcerated. But more importantly, I would like to share some of my reflections on this case, my views on whether this will have impact on the ruling party PAP in the coming elections. Let's watch on, shall we? Especially till the end. So, in a surprising turn of event, Mr. S. Iswaran has actually pleaded guilty. The details of this case and the turn of event actually has a lot of interesting development. So let's go back to where it started. What did he do? What happened at the court today? And most importantly, what are my reflections and what I think the impact to the ruling party. So let's watch on. Before we start, remember to hit like and subscribe, as I do this talk almost every day. And I hope you'll find this interesting. Most of my talk are more related to wealth development, but occasionally I do cover some of these cases. So Mr. S. Iswaran has pleaded guilty to a reduced set of 5 charges. Then this is an unusual turn of event because formerly he was charged with 30 over charges. The prosecution seeks 6 to 7 month jail for him, where his own defense counsel has actually sought a much lesser jail term. But for sure, right, being jailed is a most likely outcome. So let's see what happens. Former Transport Minister Mr. Iswaran has pleaded guilty to a reduced 5 charges in a trial today. There's 1 count of obstruction of justice and 4 counts under Section 165 of the Penal Code. Now, this 165 Penal Code is a much reduced charge compared to a corruption charge, right? This doesn't actually constitute to corruption charge, but this is also a serious charge which prohibits public servant from accepting or obtaining anything of value for free or for inadequate payments from any persons which whom he's involved in an official capacity. Now, this simply means that he has accepted gifts of something of value. This one is quite interesting because it actually says that if he accepts gifts or something that is worth, let's say, a lot, but he accepts and he pays very little, this you will kena. Previously, the prosecution have actually thrown him a few charges, 1 count of obstructing justice, 32 counts of under 165, Section 165, and 2 charge of corruption. So now has been reduced to 5 charge, 1 for obstructing justice and 4 counts of Section 165. Those 2 charges of corruption has been removed, I suppose. So in a surprising turn of event, the prosecution have reduced those charges to 5 charges. His defense lawyer, Mr. Davinder Singh, which is a very famous litigation lawyer, actually then said that his client will then review his position. And in the surprising turn of event, Mr. S. Iswaran actually pleaded guilty, and the judge has accepted his plea and convicted him of all the charges. So the prosecution is now seeking 6 to 7 months of jail term, and his own lawyer is seeking just a few weeks of jail term. I don't know what outcome will it be. We'll watch on this one. So what are the 5 charges that he's pleaded guilty to? So the 5 charges he's pleaded guilty to is number 1, obtaining 2017 F1 Grand Prix tickets. Now, 2017, he obtained 10 green room tickets amounting to a value of $42,000. Those green room tickets cost a hell of money. It simply means each ticket costs $4,000. I remember when I was in Singtel, I was organizing the Singtel Grand Prix. Those tickets are really, really expensive. Those in the Paddock Club and the Sky Suite, are super expensive. And those tickets are just ridiculous. And I don't see anything that commensurate to that kind of value in the room, It's just very nice food, and, you get to meet a lot of very powerful people and things like that. I was just in an organizing committee from Singtel, and it was stressed like nobody's business. I didn't enjoy any part of that. Those days, I finally saw what the rich people do in those entitlement. So those $4,000 tickets are really, really ridiculously expensive. Okay, he obtained 10 of those tickets. And on December 2022, that's after COVID already, he took an outbound flight on Mr. Ong's private plane to Doha worth $7,700. I don't know how you value a private plane worth, but I suppose there must be an equivalent of such plane rides, okay? $10,000. And he also took a business class ticket from Doha to Singapore worth $5,700. And he stayed 1 night at Four Seasons Doha, have a price tag of $4,000+. 1 night hotel stay costs $5,000. That bed must be made of gold or something like that. I don't know, man. But again, right, I'm a simple man. I stay in a 2-3-star hotel, occasionally 4-star when the price is good. Never stay in anything that's more than I don't even remember saying anything more than $300-400. So this is way beyond my league on understanding it. He obstructed justice by quickly attempting to pay $5,700 to Singapore Grand Prix to cover the cost of a ticket back. In short, this is considered obstruction of justice. He obtained 14 bottles of alcohol through Mr. Lam Kok Sing. This is Lam Chang Holding Managing Director. And 14 bottles is of alcohol. I don't know what kind of alcohol. I don't drink, so I don't know. He obtained one Brompton T-Line bicycle worth $7,900. I didn't know that Brompton bicycle is so expensive. Okay. My knowledge of bicycle is probably $1,000 or less. Again, I'm very smaku with this kind of thing, right? I don't cycle, so I don't know. But all in all, the total worth is quite a lot, and these are the 5 charges he pleaded guilty to. In all fairness to Mr. S. Iswaran, he has already paid all this value back to the state, I suppose, in an attempt to say that he's guilty and he's willing to pay back all these things, that he has done that. I don't know whether is it too little, too late, but he has already done that. It was, I think, worth $300 over $1,000, right? In all, something like that. I think this is quite an interesting turn of event. So you must have some reflection on this case. And I'll share with you my personal reflection, some 5 thoughts that I've come up with, okay? And these are the 5 thoughts. The first thing that comes to my mind is no man is untamable. No man is untamable. Every one of us have a point of vulnerability, maybe more, right? For some men, it's wine, money, alcohol, sex, pretty woman, all sorts of stuff, right? So no man is untamable. And for some women, could be vanity, love, handbags, Birkin bags, diamond jewelries, money, affection, whatever, right? Every man, every human is tameable. Even ministers are tameable. I would say considerably very small thing relative to his position and his salary. But every one of us as humans have a place where we are vulnerable. When the vulnerability is identified, you could be taken advantage of. So it's important for you to know where you're vulnerable and make sure you cover that position up, right? I can rightfully say I'm very vulnerable to nice food, for example. I'm definitely very easy to be tempted by delicious food. So all of us have some vulnerability. So do I. As long as you're human, you are vulnerable. Second is being rich and powerful doesn't necessarily make you less vulnerable to temptation. There are so many stories about this, right? How many politicians has fallen to the temptation of money, right? I think in 1MDB case in Malaysia, we have really seen quite a lot of these kind of cases. Even in US, ex-President Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, the scandal is a very big one. He's so bright, so capable, and whatever. Then this kind of case came up. No, it's very vulnerable. Right? We've seen so many of these cases again. Let's go back to history. Let me tell you, even emperors are tameable by money, let alone ministers. You imagine that if you are an emperor, the whole country and wealth all belongs to you, right? Well, not really, right? So in the Ming Dynasty, there is Wan Li Huangdi, Huan Li Huang. Emperor Wan Li was so greedy that he just amassed all his wealth and refused to let the country's wealth be used to pay for wars and disaster. That actually constituted to the downfall of the Ming Dynasty. So even emperors are tameable, right? Let alone ministers or whatsoever. I think in my experience with life, and I hope you guys will identify that too, don't put yourself at the line of being tempted, right? So if you know there's a vulnerability that you have, for example, you are very tameable by pretty women, right? Don't even get close to them, right? Don't even have a chance to dine, to have a drink with them. Don't travel overseas with them. If you really have to, make sure, you have male colleagues around or things like that. Bring a wife along or things like that, whatever, right? I'm just to dinners and parties and so on. But really draw a line in a sense far, far away from the risk of corruption, okay? If you are tameable by money, don't get too close to it. You're tameable by gambling, right? Don't even step close to places where there's a risk of gambling. So draw a line in the sand far, far, far away from this one, right? Don't put yourself under the age and say, don't worry, I know I can control myself. Yeah, people who say that generally will fall, right? So I think that this is a very important point, that we must draw a line in the sand far, far away from corruption. This is something I realize. A lot of the vulnerabilities in a person are developed from young. They have seen certain role models, or certain things are not taught well to them, or certain bad examples were shown to them, or certain wrong teachings were given to them. As parents, we have to teach our children from young to stay clean and white. There is no gray in this kind of thing, right? You have to stay on the line of right and stay far away from wrong. Honesty needs to be role model and inculcated by parents. This one It's not the teacher's responsibility. It's not the school's responsibility. It's certainly not the principal's responsibility or your kindergarten teacher's responsibility. It is 150% the parents' responsibility to teach this, to give them the right role model so that they can live upright and straight. I've seen this again and again, that when I look at someone who has fallen when they are in old age, and you look back in their younger time, a lot of case, not all the case, a lot of case, the upbringing was not right. I do think that religious organization, churches, mosques, and other religious organization with good teachings do help, and I do think that there is a place for all these religious organization to help mentor the kids when they are young. But really, I think the bulk of the responsibility comes from the parents. Lastly, I think even angels fall from grace, right? Maybe may I borrow a little bit from the Bible, which Lucifer, Satan was once an angel, right? So even angels fall from grace, so let alone ministers, where they're all human. Well, I know many of us are disappointed, but I think this case will be dealt with. Rest of us, we watch the whole event with a popcorn and we need to move on, right? Life has so much things to do. We need to move on from this case. The justice will be served and things like that. So I know some people are very disappointed. Some people are very upset whatsoever. Do say what you need to say, feel what you need to feel. Then after that, let's move on, because life has a lot more to go on. Now, would this be costly to PAP? Well, in my opinion, I will say this, okay, and I stand to be corrected. Those who are anti-PAP will remain anti-PAP. Not because of this case, you become more anti-PAP, because at the polls, you either vote for or don't vote for, right? Not because of this case, you can vote more against them, right? Those that are pro-PAP, I think they will still remain pro-PAP, because I think, it could be seen that justice was served quickly and swiftly and harshly as much as they can. I would think that those people who are pro-PAP will remain pro-PAP. There are some, I wouldn't say a lot. My guess is a few that sits on the fence. I think this case will be a data point for them to make a judgment. I think there's a lot more data points that help them to decide what they should or should not do at the polling day. I would think that, this case will be one data point, but not the only data point that help them to decide what they should do. I don't think that this case, in a nutshell, will be that big a case. If this thing happens just before the eventful day itself, where we cast our votes, yes, I think this will be very costly, but it's going to be very far away, from the day itself. So I think there'll be too much things that are going to happen from now to then. I think we'll just be just one data point, right? So this is my opinion. I don't know, what do you think? Okay. So these are my reflections. Thanks for watching. And remember to hit like and subscribe and join our Telegram channel. And I'll see you in a day or two. Bye-bye.